Callaway's latest iron can be a game changer in more than one way. Stay tuned, I'll tell you what that's all about. Welcome back to the Golf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and it has been quite some time since we've done a product review. It really is no excuse, but however, I've had to put my dad into hospice, so as you can imagine, my time has been taken up with family instead of this. And if that's the choice that it is. So, however, we got a break from everything, so here we are doing a test. What are we testing? We're testing the Callaway Fusion irons, okay? Now, if you look, it might be in the top here. I did the review on the Apex iron, the AI 200 and the AI 300. Both are pretty good little irons, right? And we hit one pretty far when we were on that test. Now, they've released the Fusion iron, and the Fusion iron is exactly what it looks like. It is a kind of a copy. It's an in-between version of the 200 and the 300. Now, as obviously it has the black coating on it, has the black shaft, it is sporting the dynamic gold mid 100 and the S-Flex, and this one has the Patriot grip without the, or the Z grip we'll call it. It's a Z grip and it doesn't have any cord in it. I like that grip, okay? And so that's what we were testing. So the question is, how does it compare, right? How does it compare to the other ones? Well, I went out there and we hit it, and we'll see some here in a second. What you notice in this one is from an iron that you would think that might be a little bit of players, that it comes away looking like it has a little bit more offset than what would be in that players category. Now, if you see here, my buddy Bones Make Golf, he's helping me out in this spooky time frame. Ha, ha, ha. So anyway, it looks like it's got a very nice top line. It has a little bit of offset. The sole appears to be a bit thinner at the heel, but normal at the toe. So it is a progressively wider sole. It's not one that is, you know, it just comes out at the heel and it's all sole across the bottom. Now, for those that are divot takers, this could be problematic. For those that are ball pickers, this would be a godsend. Okay, so keep that in mind. So we're talking about who this fits, how this is going to play. Now, how is this thing built? Well, they don't call it fusion for nothing. It is a fusion between titanium and steel. Typically, those metals don't like each other, and somehow they have figured out how to braze that face on the outside or using cup face technology to the body of a forged steel component. That is something to be said. All right, something to be said. Now, the typical stuff that you see from Callaway nowadays, it has an AI face, so that means each face is a little different than the next for the job that we want it to do. I think that's pretty cool. They also have the urethane microspheres, and that's that goo that they'll throw along the bottom, and what that does is twofold. One, it dampens some sound so you don't get this big clinky sound, and two, it gives it a softness to replicate that forged feel. Okay, that's what those are for. Now, it also will have a tremendous amount of weight on the bottom so that it gets under the ball and gets underneath there. If you look at the videos, there seems to be a protrusion behind the club, behind here, that comes out into the face, here. I am assuming, because I haven't seen anything about it, that it's for face support. Now, why would you need face support on a titanium face? Well, if you make it thin, it's still going to bend, and you need to be able to support that. And you have that weight back behind, or that protrusion behind where you would typically hit the ball. If you see it in those videos, they're just a tad toe forward, not a bunch, just a tad, where most people are hitting the golf ball. So there's that. The offset will help you get the ball closed. Watching some other reviews, this is a very, very, very consistent iron, which in years past, you know, you always hear the term hot spot, that the 19 or the 21 would have had a hot spot. Does this one? Well, let's find out. Now, so what I did is I went to my Flightscope and we hit a bunch of golf balls. So let's go check that out, and then we'll see what the results were. All right, so here we are reviewing the Fusion iron. It is a 7 iron with the Dynamic Gold Mid 100 S300 in it. It is, the dimensions of this thing is supposed to be 30.5 and 62. Was it 30.5 and 62? The answer is yes. It was 32.5 on the, or 30.5 on the button for loft, and it was about a quarter off for a lie angle. I am not going to sweat that one. All right, length came out perfect as well. So I got a really good demo club. Yay. And the looks of this club is actually pretty cool. Black clubs always look good. However, after some usage, it's all up on the aesthetics. Do they look as good as a chrome iron? That is up to you to decide. Personally, I like silver because of that wear stuff, but we will take a look at it later. So here we go. As you see, I got 20 shots. So what I did is I took about 10 warm-up shots and started getting my groove thing on, and it started hitting pretty good. I was really happy with the way that it was going. Again, you guys know that when I hit, most of my shots are to the right, being a left-handed guy, and with this offset that was in there, I expected even more, but this is what it looks like going downhill. As you can see, I am seeing a lot of the center line, but not a bunch of going to the right, much like that one I left out there. I just wanted to leave that one out there to show you that no, this wasn't a fixed up job. Let's figure out which one it is. And it is probably one of my first ones. Let's see. And there it is. It was the second shot. Second shot, hit it pretty good, 83 mile an hour. Pretty decent spin. I won't say that's probably a classic spin from Callaway. You're not going to see 7,000 RPM at least in that one. If we go through it, the first one is 6,100, 64, 62, 64, 66, 68. That was a good one. Let's go back to 68. What did that look like? Ah, that was one of my shorter ones. I popped it up a little bit. 61, 66. So around, there's one almost 7,000. That was a not very well struck one in comparison, although that was the only one I pushed out to the left. So that would be indicative of that. And there's another one. All right, and then the last one I spun a little bit less and got it to roll out. So what we're seeing is this thing is going to give us around 62 to 6,600. That's a respectable 7 iron kind of shot. So let's do this one again. We're going to make it go from this one. You see it coming out, pretty cool. And then as it's going down, the lion's share of them are right there. So what do we need to look at here when we're looking at this? There we go. So you see it, that it's a pretty good culmination of shots. I have my one that was out to the right, which, you know, that's indicative of me, all sitting within this 10-yard box, basically. So if I were to cut out some of the ones on the bottom, I could cut out these 4 on the bottom, and I could literally cut out the 2 on the top, and that would be, what, six of them, and they would all be within basically a 10-yard landing area. And of course, I'm sure the numbers would show that everything would go up. But out of 20 shots, I like that, you know, for a, we'll call a mid-level handicapper, that I will take that all day. Now, how was the club working for me? We'll take a look at this. There's a path of all my shots. Not too bad. I'm going to say a little outside in, not, you know, as far as it goes, but symmetrical, not too bad. The shaft, if you look at this, what we're looking for is a straight line. The shaft was working very well for me. I like how I was getting through it. A couple that were just a little early, and those are probably the short ones, and then the other ones that are coming down, those are probably the long ones. But I like the consistency, and that's really what we are looking for, is the consistency. Okay, if we go back and we look at pure numbers, and we wanted to see what I was doing, as a whole, on average, 166 to 173, pulled inside about 6 degrees on average, swinging just shy of 85, hitting it what I will call right at the average, almost above average numbers. I won't, you know, 1.5 with an iron is almost unheard of. I would like to see that closer to about a 137. There's a 63, almost 6,400 RPM, getting a pretty decent flight time and a little bit of excessive angle of attack. If we look at some numbers, we see the 160s, there's a 170, primarily into the 160s. There's a couple 158s that'll always take it down. And then at the end, I started getting a groove on, and the very last one, I really pushed one out there at 88. I jumped on a couple, and this started getting warmed up apparently because I started getting higher swing speeds with pretty decent, we'll say again, the average to slightly above average contact, and we started seeing a progressively high number and getting it out there. So, you know, what I did on that in my last review where we talked about hitting it almost to 190, could I do it with this club? Yeah, probably. You know, and do I want to rely on that? Absolutely, I do not. Alrighty. So again, it did exactly what it was called out for. It got very, very consistent. It threw it out there, and we're talking 20 shots, not 3 to 4 or 5, and in order to show of how the face is working. And so let's go back and talk about the final part of this. All right, so after 20 shots, that's not too bad, right? That's it's a pretty consistent pattern for a 7-iron, front and back. I didn't get too wide. If you guys have been watching the channel for any amount of time, you know that I pull the ball. And in some cases, I can pull it pretty doggone good. This one, for 20 hole shots, not bad, right? I took my 10 warm-ups like I normally would do, and then I threw it out there. Not bad. I'd say as far as consistency, this club has hit the mark, right? Even with the bit of the off-center or the offset that's on it, I thought I was going to even pull it more. So they've got a good balance in the club. The club really looks cool at address. It does exactly what it says. Now, as far as specs go, this one is actually a degree weaker than the 300, which puts it in that 200 category. And I'm still throwing it out there in the finishing between 175 and 180 with a 7-iron. I'm still thinking that's pretty healthy. So I'm very, very happy with this. Now, looking at reviews, if you look at reviews, there's a question comes into whether or not that finish holds up. If you go up to their website, that is full of people that are really disappointed in the finish, okay, in the finish of the club. They say it performs like a monster, Halloween note, performs like a monster, but the finish does not stand up to the test, and in very rapid fashion. Now, that said, that black golf clubs will wear. They will never ever stay black the entire time. They will always show where you hit them. They will show how you're getting through the clubs. But depending on your environment that you play in will tell you how fast or how excessive this wear will become. So if you are playing in a lot of sandy soil like Myrtle Beach or coastal type environments, this is going to wear quickly because when you hit into the turf, it's like hitting into sandpaper. When you hit into the sandpaper, it's going to wear out this stuff. Now up here in Ohio, where the soil is clay-like, chances are it's going to last a lot longer. So you have to take that into account. Is that something that bothers you? Then you might want to take a look at that. If it doesn't, have a day, and it's a great iron, right? It's one of the most consistent irons I've hit as far as giving me that pattern where I want it to go, and it got out there in the distances that I would like to see. So not too bad. So if you like this, hey, give us a like and a subscribe. And also we have our YouTube live stream on Mondays at 5:30 p.m. We talk about this same kind of stuff. We have a pretty good conversation going with people from all over the world. Come join us, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it as well. Okay, guys and gals, as usual, let's see your scores go low.